Okay, this is a reduction question 2.2. Let's just take a look at it. Well, I like to do all this reduction thing thinking about first, where is minus 250 degrees? Well, what you do is you go clockwise. You go down, and then you go down 90, 180, and you don't get all the way to 270. You go 70 degrees past minus 180 and stop in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, you stop at minus 250. That's where you are, in the third quadrant. And the reference angle is 70 degrees. But that's not the third quadrant, it's the second quadrant, right? In fact, let's look at that again. You start here, you go around and around and around, you stop right there. About at 250, there's minus 180, because you're going clockwise. There's minus 250, and there you are in the second quadrant, but the reference angle is 70 degrees, and that's what's going on there, 70 degrees. But cosine's negative in that second quadrant. That's why you get a mark for writing minus cosine of 70 degrees. Now the cosine of 300, well, 300 degrees, you go all the way around and you're just 60 degrees short of 360, but cosine's positive there in that fourth quadrant, so it's really the cosine of 60. Another mark. Nothing to do with the sine of 20. The cosine of 157 is 22.5 degrees short of 180, but cosine's negative in that quadrant, in the second quadrant, so you write that. And there's nothing to do with sine 2250. But you have to recognize here, well, a negative divided by a negative, I am just going to, if I see that negative divided by a negative, I am going to drop the negatives, and because there's two negatives, and a negative divided by a negative is positive. So you don't have to put in the negatives down here. Just you can go negative divided by negative. The whole answer is going to be positive. But the cos of 70 degrees is really equal to the sine of its complement. You have to know that, or you could have gone sine 20 as cos 70. But the deal is sine 20 and sine 20 now, they're divided by themselves. They cancel. They're gone. So the sine 20s are gone. You need to make a special triangle, the 1, 2, root 3 thing, so that you can show without a calculator that the cos of 60 degrees is adjacent over hypotenuse 1 over 2. Well, that 1 over 2 is just great. That fraction of 1 over 2. You can actually kind of pull it out and multiply the top by 1 and the bottom by 2. And look at this. You got to recognize sine of this angle and cosine. 2 sine cos of a particular angle. Oh, that means I can double 22.5, and 2 sine cos is just the sine of double this angle. So it's equal to the sine of 45. And you've got a special triangle that you've got to make it write down with 1, 1, root 2. And the sine of 45 is 1 over root 2. You tip in times, and you get root 2. Well, that's that reduction thing. That was a little bit tricky, and yet a little bit of thinking in there going on.